Hi everybody, this is Apache Junction Unified School District's Collaboration Coaches, tips and tech tools to integrate in your classroom, hopefully to help your teaching life be a little bit easier. And so we have our collaboration coach leads, and I'll go ahead and introduce them to you. We have Gina Ferrer, Melissa Martinez, Reagan Roach, Sarah Harrison, and Shauna Hammond. And we're going to just go ahead and take some turns in sharing with you some things that we found to be helpful in our instruction. So I'll go ahead and start us off, and I thought that I would share with you how to insert graphs into your spreadsheet based on some data. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you, and let me get there. The first thing that I thought would be easy to just remind you of is that when you have students submit responses through a Google form and you have their answers and you just kind of want to get a quick view of the percentage of students that are able to answer some questions, you can do that pretty quickly by just looking at a summary of their responses. And so here I have the spreadsheet that has my students' answers on there, and I can view really quickly by scrolling down, but if I want to get a better picture, I'm just going to go up to the form and then scroll down to show summary of responses. And you can see here that assuming that I know what the right answers are, that what percentage of students are getting the right answers. And this might be an interesting way to share with your students who's answering what types of questions and have some discussions based on that. So that's the first thing that I wanted to share with you. The second thing that I wanted to share with you is on how to insert a chart onto your spreadsheet. So my background is in teaching junior high science, and one of the things that we talked about was calculating speed when when we tracked the object's time and its distance. So here I have some data that was collected, and if I want to insert a chart based on this data, I'm just going to go to Insert, scroll down to Chart, and you're going to see several options that pop up, different chart types that are available to me. Now in our class we typically did line graphs, and we were drawing best fit lines using scatter plots, and so this first option that automatically generated would be one that I would go ahead and choose for a student. But there's some things that I would modify with that, and I can always modify it through the customization. So I'm going to click on customization, and you can see here that I have some options. The thing that I'm looking to change is the scaling on the X and the Y axis. And so I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and I'm going to see where it has access, and that's automatically defaulted to the X-axis, which is the horizontal. And instead of having a weird scale like 0, 1.53, and 4.5 and 6, I want to go ahead and have it match the times that I have in my chart over here. So instead of having my grid lines be 5, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that to go ahead and be 6. And you can see how the graph adjusts accordingly. Now, so I'm just going to go ahead and insert that, and I can move it around in my spreadsheet. Now, I do have some options. If I want to go back and do some editing, I can do a quick edit, which means that I can just change some of the things on the X and Y axis, the title, as well as the key. Or if I want to do an advanced edit and go back to that original customization, that's how I would do that, by clicking on the little drop-down box. You also have some options of saving the chart and publishing the chart and moving it to its own sheet. So you do have a couple of things that you can do once you have that image. Now, one little thing that I would always require with my students is that they would have to do 3 trials for any lab that they did. And so what I figured out was that in order to have multiple dots or plots on the graph, I needed to set up my spreadsheet a little bit differently. And so here you can see the 3 different trials that I conducted with in this lab. So I have my first set of trials up here, and then I started my times again over, and I moved my distances to the next column. And then for trial 3, again, I renumbered my times, and I put my third trial in the next column. So when I insert my chart, again, I have a couple of different options, but what I would really like to do is go ahead and do a chart types. There we go. So you can also see some different options that you have there. I'm going to choose a scatter plot, and I'm going to make sure that my data up here is correct. So I have A1 to D19, and I think I might need to highlight this. So I'm going to try it one more time. Of course, it worked smoothly yesterday, but that's okay. And chart types, scatter plot, and there we go. So now you can see the data from all 3 trials all in the same chart. And you can see here again that I need to do some adjustment. So in order to do that, I do on the drop-down box, Advanced Edit, and I can change my title. I only want the title to be something a little bit different, so distance versus time. And then I can alter, the title would be time in seconds. And then if I want to change it just like that, distance in centimeters. And once again, I want to change my scale. So I'm going to do this and scroll down and change my x-axis scale. And there you can see how that has changed. Now, one other thing that I thought was kind of cool with Google Sheets, if you're not sure what kind of data chart that you want to insert, they give you templates to follow. So if you want to try a line graph and you want to have a template, you can try a live example, and it gives you a template where you fill in your data, and then your graph is adjusted accordingly. So you could use this template. So in a classroom, if I were like, oh, I want a template for my students, then I would just click on Use this template, and then I would make a copy of that template and share that out with my students for them to use. And there's tons of different types of graphs. Some really neat ones that I thought you can do pie charts. Again, try a live example, and it gives you the template for a pie chart to be filled in. And I'll just show you one more because I thought it was groovy. You can do gauges, where if you're talking about weather or temperature or anything like that, or speed, then you can have gauges adjusted, which I thought was a pretty slick option. So those are the graphing things that I thought would be kind of cool. I think definitely used in science and math for sure, but I do know that there are some ELA standards that have students looking at graphs and charts, so that might be a way for your students to input data and then to analyze it and see how and use that as evidence-based information for them when they're making claims. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on, and so let's see here. We'll go ahead and start with Reagan, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So the 2 things that I picked, one was one that I've recently started using, and I don't know if others have or have used it a long time. It's the Brain Pop, which I like this as a one-to-one school. It's a really good way to, I use it like this would be to introduce the topic of matter and have kids practice sorting matter, while this would be like a mindset type of an activity. So they would do this while I was taking attendance or handing out papers, being that it's something that and doesn't need a lot of instruction. Most of the time the kids show me how to do the test or how to play the game or how to beat the game. So this is one thing that I've really liked lately, that it's a good way, it's a topic, there's tons of lessons in here, different concepts to go over. So it's a good way to engage them in whatever you're talking about for that day. And it's something that they like to do. Like, they will ask you if they can go play Brain Pop after the lesson's over. That's one. The second one, this is what I started doing last year. I don't like watching myself, but I started videotaping. I'll play this really quick. Let's see if it'll play.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Today is May 5th, 2015. We are going to continue practicing studying for our final benchmark so that we can demonstrate our overall understanding of the 8th grade science standards. While I take attendance, the mindset for you is to finish your conclusion on paper rockets. The assignment today, we're going to do the review game. The homework is finishing your conclusion, because remember, I'm going to grade that tomorrow when you come to class. Bring back your promise for the future forms and any coins that you have for the coin drive right now.
So that's just a really quick video. I'm going to go back to the conversation here. So they have these little machines now, this little swivel machine, if you can see it. Yes, no? Its original intent, I'm guessing, was for you to like video yourself and monitor yourself and adjust as necessary. But what I do is I use it to go through the daily lesson, I guess, each day. I record myself and then I upload the video to my Google Classroom so that it works really well for kids that are absent. They can go in and they literally watch the lesson. It works well. I don't have to stand and teach. Last year, towards the end of the year, they got so used to it, they would like raise their hand to the video and not to me. And then it got to where they wanted me to Skype with them instead of like meet with them in the classroom. So it worked well because I was up front teaching the lesson, and I was then able to physically walk around, and I became more aware of what my students were doing while the mindset or while the lesson was going on. In particular, I remember we were calculating speed, and up at the front of the class, if I'm doing the calculations or I'm on the projector, I'm doing the problem, and I don't have the ability to stop everything and walk around, and there's just not enough time. So it was nice that I could be up front doing the problem on the video, and at the same time I was walking around noticing the kids who I wouldn't have noticed before not doing what they were supposed to be doing. It was like it gave me a second teacher in the room. What was really good was that I had a couple kids who would email me, and they're like, I really like the videos, but could you give us more time to write this down before you move on? Because, of course, when I'm recording, there's no kids in the classroom. I have to think, well, how long should I give them to do this? So it was kind of nice because I started to see like the wait times were better. Kids were more engaged. I don't know what it is. I think it's because they're so used to video that they were engaged in what was going on in the video. So having me stand up and say it, I would have to, constantly redirect them and gain their attention again. But the video would play, and you could hear a pin drop. So those are just some suggestions for classroom stuff, and it worked well for kids that were absent, especially in my advanced classes. If they weren't going to be here, they were watching it online, they would come in with their work done. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Reagan. Melissa, we'll go ahead and move on to what you have to share with us.
All right. So I'm going to screen share a new way to kind of take an exit ticket. And this is called Zeal, and it's you can use it grades K through 8, and you set up your classes, and each class has a little class code. And so you can pick math standards, there's some reading, there's some writing, and then you can preview and edit your exit tickets and kind of pick questions that maybe you're working on for that day, or in Reteach or Enrich, and then you save it, and then you click Start Your Exit Ticket, and you get a little class summary. So then your students can go in and they have a secret code, and they enter it, and then they can click on their name. So today I'm going to be Albert Einstein. And he gets to click on his exit ticket, and you can only do one exit ticket at a time for the class, but you can set up like different classes. I have a reading and a math, so I can have 2 exit tickets going. And he's going to take it. And it tells them if they're right, and then if they were wrong, it does that. And then at the end, it kind of gives them their score and how they did. And then as a teacher, when you get it, you can kind of see, you get the live results, where they're at. You can click on the question that they got wrong and kind of see what they did on the exit ticket. But my kids, I use it at my back table. We get iPads all out, and they kind of use it, and they really like it. They kind of have fun seeing what they get wrong and what they get right. So that is my tech tool to share.
That's really neat, Melissa. I had not seen that tool before, so thank you very much for sharing that. Gina, why don't we go ahead and AI?
Okay. So I'm going to screen share. Can you see it now?
Oh. Yay! I see it. Okay.
Okay, good. So, like I said before, I don't know if you remember, this Google has a lot of little tools and add-ons to kind of make document creating a little bit more interesting and engaging for the kids. So the first one that they have is, no, it won't let me do anything. Okay, wait. Can you still see it?
Yes.
Okay. So the first one they have is research. It's right there. And when you click on it, a research box will come up. And I love this because they don't have to go back and forth. It's all right there for them to see. And then another feature under research is if you see a site that may be interesting to you, you can click on preview, and it will give you a preview of what the site looks like off to the side. And then this bar will tell you that this is the site that you're in, and then you just click on preview again, and it will get rid of it if that's not the one you want. So you keep scrolling down, and so I see a list right here for synonyms for said, and I'm ready to go to add in my bulleted list. So then, of course, you click on bulleted list, and now one that is like really cool is for about a week now that tools that Google has added is voice typing. And this is super cool. So I'm going to make my bulleted list by doing voice typing, and you can kind of see what happens. You just click on the little marker to speak. Cried. Next line. It shouldn't have done that. Of course it doesn't do that. So look at it. It's typing everything I say. I'm going to get rid of this part. When you say next line, it should go to next line. Next sentence. Next line. Well, let's type them. So replied, muttered, remarked, and then there's a few. So then once you're finished, you can go up to an add-on that you can put, and this is like kind of adding apps to it. And there's a MindMeister where if you highlight your bulleted list, it will turn it into a mind map. And it's working right now. So you can see that it makes one, and then if you wanted to, Google has wrap now to where you can wrap it, make it smaller, and this just kind of adds in a little bit of interest into your documents. And and then once they're finished, the tool is to go into your personal dictionary, and then I want them to type in the synonyms for said in their personal dictionary. So you click on it, And you can see that I have some other things in there that I've done for a dictionary, and then they just type in the word. And they add it, and it will add it to that. So if there's a reference there. So this kind of becomes a personal word wall for them with the meanings. And that is it.
Great, Gina. Thank you so much. So those are some tech tools that, again, we have found useful to be in our instruction, and we hope that you will give them a whirl in your own classroom instruction. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a good one. Bye.